The ancient mystical order Rosicrucis, also known as the Rosicrucian Order, AMORC, is a worldwide cultural, educational, and philosophical organization that is perpetuating profound and practical teachings of the Rosicrucians. These teachings, as passed down and added to over the centuries from ancient Egypt to Europe and now all over the world, pertain to the mysteries of the universe, nature, and humans themselves. The Rosicrucian Library is a source of spiritual wisdom and insights that include the important writings by the respected imperators of the order, such as Dr. Harvey Spencer Lewis, Ralph M. Lewis, and Christian Bernard. We now continue exploring the way to know the mystical in our lifetimes with further insights from Ralph M. Lewis' book, The Sanctuary of Self, Chapter 1, titled The Mystical Life. Have you ever stopped to realize what the real value or worth of tradition is? When it is a benefit to man and when it is a hindrance? Traditions are like rungs of a ladder. They represent the elevation of man. They are intended to prevent him from slipping backward, but they are not intended to hold man back. Whenever a tradition holds you fast so that you cannot raise yourself to the next rung, it then becomes a hindrance. We should look upon traditions as signs of encouragement. We should find in them a satisfaction because of the advancement that man has made. We should take from tradition the best that it has to offer and build upon it. It is necessary, therefore, that each of us take the traditions of the day and subject them to a personal examination to see, so far as we are concerned, why it is necessary that they should be abided by. If we can improve on the traditions, we should do so. If we cannot, we must not relinquish them unless they prove to be of no further value. Humans are possessed of reason, a faculty found also in animals besides man, and we must employ that reason. We must not be like children and accept conditions and circumstances merely on faith alone. We must weigh them. In our considerations of the mystical life, we must begin with man, simply because there is nothing more intimate, nothing to which you are more closely related, nothing that you can feel so strongly or analyze so carefully as yourself. Why begin with an analysis or an examination of the universe around you? With the planets overhead, or the other cosmic bodies, or the universal laws, or with reality generally? All things outside yourself are measured, after all, in terms of their value or relationship to you. The things you see, hear, feel, taste, and smell may have existence outside yourself, but the form in which they are realized and the manner in which you react to them depend on your interpretation of them and your sense qualities. Therefore, since you measure by yourself these things that are outside yourself, it is best that you start with yourself. In beginning with man, you must realize that man alone is not divine. It is in one sense unfortunate that almost all religions and philosophies have built up the impression of the divine nature of man so strongly that in the minds of many people today, all things apart from what they term the soul of man are declared vulgar, as hardly worth the consideration of thought, except as we need them for our existence. But such a concept is an injustice to the infinite intelligence who conceived all. In the first place, it must be reasoned and realized that the multitude of things which exist apart from what is stated to be man's soul are not of man's creation and are not the result of effort of his mind. Consequently, they must necessarily be from that same source, that same infinite source from which all things come. Therefore, everything of which we have cognizance is by that reasoning of a divine source. It is also unfortunate that some persons refer to the acts of animals and of some types of beings, human beings, as ungodly. In each thing which has existence, there is instilled its function, and while it has that particular type of existence in its process of development, that function is natural to it and is not ungodly. Can we damn or condemn a people to oblivion because they conduct themselves and their lives in a manner which is in accordance with the intelligence which is theirs? Are they to be considered as any less divine in nature because they have not the ability to distinguish between the right and wrong which we have conceived by virtue of a greater intelligence and a more advanced state? Would we like to think of ourselves as being considered profane, vulgar, and ungodly by a civilization of 1,000 years hence because our acts today will fall short of their attainments? Would not our plea be that we acted in accordance with the best of which our nature was composed and of what constituted our inner intelligence? No being is ungodly unless it can be shown that he has the ability to ascertain the difference between right and wrong and then acts wrongly. Therefore, each class of people today, each race of people, must be measured by its state of advancement and found guilty by that measurement alone. One of the Neoplatonic philosophers, the mystic philosophers before the Renaissance of the Middle Ages, declared that man has been given will only so that he may choose the right course of action, so that he may follow what he understands to be right and to be good. Man is found to be guilty only when he directs that will in opposition to his understanding of what is good and what is wrong. So, when we approach the mystical life and begin with man, we look upon all things as divine, because they emanate from the same source, and no being is ungodly unless we are in a position to point out that he has directed his will in opposition to what he knows is best and proper. Virtuous viewers, it was an honor to have you with us for today's program from the Rosicrucian Order's The Sanctuary of Self on the Mystical Life, Part 2 of 3, on Words of Wisdom.